So I saw that I haven't been checking my videos. I put out the video on 3i Atlas recently, and it getting close to 100,000 views. I'm really excited about that. I'm really happy about that as well. Um, if you watch the video, you'll see the dreams that I've had. And this is long before any of this stuff started happening. So it's really interesting that now the media has picked up on it, and so many other people that are very well known, whether it's in the community of science and physics, like the famous, very well known Harvard astrophysicist or theoretical physicist, that's Avi Loeb. And then you have Joe Rogan, you have all these different types of people all talking about 3i Atlas. And there's a reason for that. You know, there's definitely a reason for that. We're living in a time now where anything seems to be possible. A lot of amazing things are happening, and it's really up to your ability to be able to acknowledge these things. We get so caught up in our problems on a daily basis, you know, and we rightfully have to do that because, for one, it's our health, family, life choices, survival. It's all of those things. And right now, we're living in a very tense atmosphere. As you can see, here is where I practice my yoga. I'm sitting at the very front of it where I usually put my head. My legs would go down that way. But I usually have my little space here where I do my yoga and practice here. This is where I take out my daily frustrations. This is where I kind of try to find my peace and try to keep it um, in a neutral zone, and keep everything balanced. It's very hard to balance between all these different things that are happening in your life. So, if you've seen the video that I did on 3i Atlas, it was really interesting. I remember the dreams that I had. If you watch about the dreams, and I don't think that a lot of people want to take everything literal. When I have my dreams, I don't take them literal. Certain parts of them I do. Usually, when I have dreams of natural disasters, those I take literal because they've actually come true. There are other parts of it where I have so many abstract things that happen. But I think for each individual, we have to find our own understanding of these abstract ideas that come into our dreams. These are things that only we can understand. Maybe if you have a very wise spiritual being or seer of some sort or an oracle that can probably look into the things that you have, you could probably get some answers for your dreams. But on the whole, there's some very interesting things that are happening. And the anomalies, for me personally, what I found with 3i Atlas was when he first started, Avi Loeb first brought out the anomalies, and the way he spoke about it, he had said that if it shows that it has a tail, and which every comet has a tail because it's giving off sort of like fumes in a way as it's traveling at 130 miles per hour. That's pretty damn fast, you know. Traveling at that speed, they said that it would give off some sort of a tail because of the ice and other debris that's on it. All right. And when you're traveling at that speed and you're also getting the uh, disruption of the gravitational forces of the large bodies around you, that's going to cause some signs that you'll be able to actually see through a telescope. Well, the funny thing is they found the tail, but it wasn't in the back of the comet as they thought and proposed. It was actually in the front of the comet, which is interesting because it almost looked like a headlight in front of the actual comet or whatever it is, right? And he goes on to say that once it hit the perihelion, which it would go behind the sun and come around, usually taking the force of the gravitational force coming around the sun, that you would see some changes happening at that point, meaning it would either heat up, and because it's composed of its certain elements like nickel and iron and all these things, and some water and whatever else, that you would see it change colors. And he said that he said it heated up, but it even got hotter than the sun. And the other thing was the lights that was emanating from it kept changing to different colors. Now I find that very interesting. The fact that it was actually changing colors and it heated up even more hotter than the sun. So that tells you something. That tells you something, that something's different there. And now, aside from these different changes, it's also uh, of a fraction of a degree, maybe 4 seconds off of its actual course, its trajectory, it's maneuvered somehow. People don't realize that 4 seconds off of your course, I guess an astronomical trajectory, equals probably millions of miles as it goes out towards its destination. So people don't realize that that little fraction of a degree of movement can cause a great gap in location from where it was first, the origin of its trajectory, and to where it's going to end up. Pretty big stuff, guys. Pretty big stuff. And then they found recently that it has like these jets or jet streams that are emanating from it. And Avilob and myself and a few others probably that understand, I don't understand fully, but when I saw the jets coming out from 5 different sides, automatically I first thought, wow, this is interesting, because it looks like a propulsion system that's set up, on this giant 12-mile, 34 million ton thing that's floating in space, heading towards Earth. It's even closer towards Earth than it was originally proposed to be. And that's because of that small delineation in movement. Because of that small 4-second maneuver, or slightly off of its original trajectory, it sent it closer towards the Earth. Now that is fascinating. And it's not only this one. If you look, and there's a guy named Stephen Burns, or Stephen Burns. If you watch his videos, he was showing the latest maps of the solar system and what's happening currently from all the different telescopes that they have lined up. And you see more than just one actual comet out there. Now you have several out there that are merging towards the Earth, which is really interesting. And you have to ask yourself, these large bodies that are floating in space seem to be maneuvering on their own, which is, again, is showing some intelligence or signs of intelligence. Now I find that even more fascinating. I find this to be mind-boggling. How does this relate to my dreams in the beginning of the year, or maybe the end of last year? I think or somewhere like around maybe this time last year. I think it could be earlier than that. I have to look back on the post that I did on the actual dream. But I remember when I actually put out the video, you could see I used artificial intelligence to help create the video of what I saw. And I remember being in this place that looked like a mall, except slightly different. There were some deviations to how it looked. And it looked almost like there was metal inside there all over. And there was also, it looked almost like a mall. It was weird, because it was so big in the area that we're in. And there were also these places that you could see outside, and all you could see was the sky. Not the sky, but like the darkness of space. I didn't put 2 and 2 together at that point, but I noticed that when I walked and I jumped just a little bit, I started floating. And as I started floating, I came down in front of this woman, and she looked at me, and I said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you." And she goes, "The only reason that you can do that is because you're off-world." And I thought to myself, that's weird. Why would she say it's off-world, that I'm off-world? And when I got up, I looked up the term off-world. It means off of Earth. But then this goes back to the idea of, we don't really travel with our physical bodies. And it would only make sense if we're living in different dimensions, and we have multiple dimensions and multiple realities. From the old yogic tradition and many other traditions around the world, including the Egyptians. I mean, you go as far back as you can, even back to the Anunnaki, which was around the same time as the yogis back then, and the whole Vedic tradition. they talk about consciousness being the gateway to all these other dimensions. So if consciousness is the gateway to all these other dimensions, imagine what's out there. I've the reason this is so intriguing to me is I've already traveled uh, in the realm of, I believe, through consciousness, because I had something happen during my very first mantra. It was weird. I was 24 years old. Never forget it. I remember, up to this day, it's been an influence in my life, you know? So I remember what happened. I went from being in my living room to being in a forest. So now when I see things since I was a child, I start paying attention to things now. And all the things that, people think that they take for granted and they kind of laugh at and they joke about, people are now starting to corroborate this. You're getting corroboration from the government. You're getting corroboration from a lot of people now and a lot of different agencies, and they're coming forward. And you could look it up online and find out that they were doing remote viewing. Remote viewing was used in the government, not just in the United States, but around the world, especially Russia, places like that. There were people that were known to have used remote viewing to solve certain puzzles that couldn't be solved through conventional means. So they had to jump to these other means that were a little bit more esoteric, a little bit more spiritual in nature, and they ended up working. Now, how does that happen? How do these things happen? Ask yourself that. So there must be something to this, guys. There must be something to what's going on, you know? So I just wanted to give this as a trailer and a teaser to the next video that I'm going to do. If you haven't seen my first video on the dreams and Three Eye Atlas, and I would suggest that you give it a shot, watch it, because I'm surprised. I didn't think it would get, I don't know how many views. I think it's like 70 or 80,000 views on it now. So I had no clue it was going to be that high. I found out when I looked, because I don't really check my social media so much, and I saw there were like 10,000 plus subscribers. So whoever you guys are, namaste and thank you for watching. I'm going to put out a lot more good content, and it's going to be part spiritual. It's going to be part um, physics and metaphysics, right? So we're going to have a little breakdown of physics and metaphysics. Not saying that I'm a professor of physics or a professor of spiritual, but I have a little bit of both. We all do, but some of us are inclined to live that way. I do live that way, as you can see by my decorations alone. No, I'm just kidding. And the way I'm dressed, and I'm Indian, that makes me more spiritual than you. I'm just kidding. But guys, I hope that you really enjoy these videos. I'll be putting some really cool stuff out, and watch out for it. Please hit that like button. Definitely subscribe if you like it. You know the deal, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Watch out for the next video, guys. This is just a teaser of what I'm going to talk about. I wish each and every one of you great health, wealth, and happiness. And I hope that you guys wish the same for me. See you guys in the next video. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.